How did the land skirting this beautiful stretch of the Columbia become the most contaminated place, not just in the country, but in the entire Western Hemisphere? Here's how. By dumping. For 50 years, while Hanford workers were making material for nuclear bombs, they were hastily tossing out toxic wastes left over from production. 444 billion gallons of radioactive and chemically contaminated liquids dumped right into the soil and river. Think about it this way. That's the equivalent of nearly 700,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools full of harmful liquids carelessly dumped, without regard for the environment, the workforce, or the public.
We knew that they were dumping massive quantities of liquid waste.
In the early 90s, Representative Jerry Pollitt did something about that. His nonprofit, Heart of America Northwest, sued the U.S. Department of Energy and won, making it illegal to simply toss out liquids at Hanford. So, all that dumping stopped 24 years ago. At least, that's what everybody thought.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
We showed Pollitt video obtained by the King 5 investigators of thousands of gallons of water being dumped on purpose into the soil at Hanford in broad daylight from a huge metal box plastered with warnings. Caution, radioactive materials.
It's a crime. I am convinced from looking at this that you're witnessing a criminal violation of several statutes, not just one. I am shocked to see something like this in 2017.
And there's more. That first dumping happened on August 17th. Then we obtained this blurry video of it happening again on August 21st, when workers emptied out 2 more poisonous boxes of water. This is exactly how Hanford became so contaminated in the first place.
What could be the motivation? Why would you risk creating even more contamination that could make its way toward the Columbia River? We've discovered this document that might provide an answer, and it has to do with money.
We found the crews who work for the government contractor Washington River Protection Solutions, or WRPS, were in a big hurry to get the water out of those boxes. They needed to put these nuclear waste hoses in them and send the boxes onto this landfill in the middle of the Hanford site. And there was a carrot attached to getting that job done. This document spells out the numbers. $58,000 paid to WRPS for each hose safely dug up and put in a box, with a total on the line of more than $1 million. But with a September 30th deadline, the clock for earning that bonus was ticking.
This is surprising every single time I see it that we don't seem to learn very well.
Dirk Dunning of Salem, Oregon, is a retired nuclear engineer and Hanford expert.
When you get caught in a bind with time and money, quite often people will end up cutting corners.
Sources tell us that's exactly what happened. When WRPS discovered rainwater had accidentally leaked into the boxes, cutting corners was quicker and cheaper than doing the right thing, testing the water to see what was in it, pumping the water into barrels like these, or getting new boxes altogether.
Hey, Mr. Cantwell, I'm Susannah Frame from King TV.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. We're here to talk to you about the water events, the dumping events that occurred in August.
We asked WRPS for an interview. They never responded to the request, so we caught up with one of the company's top executives, Rob Cantwell, after work. He denied any wrongdoing.
Many of your employees are concerned about it because they didn't think it should happen. They knew it wasn't right, and they knew it wasn't being reported. What do you have to say to that?
I don't have anything to say to that. We didn't do anything that was inappropriate.
We found what happened after the dumping was not only inappropriate, but violated the law. When waste is spilled or dumped, it must be reported to the State Department of Ecology within 24 hours. That didn't happen.
It wasn't reported until King TV made an inquiry to your company. Can you tell us why?
I'm not sure I understand exactly what you're referring to.
This is what we're referring to. The first dumping happened in mid-August. On September 8th, King 5 emailed WRPS and the State Department of Ecology to ask what happened. The next business day, internal state emails we've obtained show Department of Ecology managers trying to get to the bottom of it, what they called a mysterious compliance issue that came from Susannah Frame. The next day, WRPS finally notified the state.
Timely reporting is one of the requirements.
John Price is the state's compliance manager over Hanford.
You want to know why you weren't notified right away.
Right. We would ask for their explanation, and there may be a legitimate explanation. There may, I don't know.
Department of Ecology inspectors showed up on site without warning, taking samples and asking questions. We found some of WRPS's answers don't add up. The company told investigators that during this event, they dumped just 200 gallons from a contaminated box.
From the looks of it, that thing's over half full.
Dirk Dunning looked at the measurements and angle of the container. By his calculations, they poured 3,000 to 5,000 gallons into the ground. Workers on site that day agree it was thousands of gallons, not a few hundred.
That's just wrong. That's silly. If they're going to drain a container like that, they need to at least have said what it was they actually did.
You reported 200 gallons were dumped, and we know it was thousands. What do you think of that?
I'm not sure that you understand all of the facts.
Well, why don't you help us understand them?
Hanford's cleanup is decades behind schedule and billions over budget. Some of the problems, like leaking tanks, are massive compared to what we see on these videos. But the experts agree, if the Hanford culture allows for violations like this right out in the open, what else is going on that we don't know about?
And when you're spending billions of dollars to clean it up and you're under such scrutiny, it is totally shocking to me to see such disdain for basic environmental protection standards.
So what happens now? The State Department of Ecology is investigating. They expect to issue a report in the next few months. They could issue a citation or levy a fine. We found out late tonight that the soil samples, you saw pictures of those soil samples being taken by the state inspectors. They were taken at one location. They came back without toxins found in the soil. But we do know that at the other location, radioactive contamination was discovered on the ground. Also tonight, WRPS sent us a statement to say they are cooperating with the Department of Ecology and that they are working to strengthen their procedures. I also do know that the Attorney General's unit, called the Environmental Crimes Unit, is interested in seeing our video. I talked to them today and yesterday, so we'll see what happens in that regard.
Right. Boy, it's so fascinating what Jerry Pollitt was saying at the end, because it's what I was thinking. When you're under a microscope, wouldn't you take every possible precaution to do things by the book, right?
You would think, but in their minds, maybe they weren't doing anything wrong.
Right.
I mean, you just don't. You can never assume motivation, but we do know that's not right.
Yeah.
Incredible reporting, Susannah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.